Stephen!
Andrew.
Fancy spending another quiet night inside number 9?
Yep.
Season 4, episode 4, To Have and To Hold.
Rattling through.
We are rattling through. And it's getting bleak this week.
It is. This has been quite an upbeat series in many ways so far. Not in all ways. I mean, screwdriver murders and rat poison aside, it hasn't been a very upbeat series at all.
I mean, that was good fun.
It's
last
had its
week.
moment.
It was a blast.
It was fun. It was a caper.
Yeah, this is not a caper.
Where'd you keep your capers, by the way? What sort of jar would you keep capers in?
I think I'd put them in a pasta.
A pasta packet? One of those really tall jars for spaghetti with just some little capers swimming around at the bottom.
Yeah. No, it has to be like the thing it comes in from the shop, doesn't it? So it would be a packet, pasta packet.
It would just be the packet, yeah.
Maybe spaghetti. Okay, so To Have and To Hold was directed by David Kerr, produced by Adam Tandy, written by Rhys Shearsmith and Steve Pemberton, and it first aired on the 23rd of January 2018.
I felt like this was a surefire Guillaume Morales one.
Yeah, had that kind of written all over it. Doom-laden, yeah, very much music-driven. Synopsis, do you want to set this one up for us?
Yeah. So we're introduced to Harry and Adrian, a couple who live in a straightforward terraced house, who seem to be suffering some marital difficulties. But it turns out that pot noodle addiction and his working room aren't the darkest bits about Adrian's life.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a return to British suburban life. The facade of normality with some kind of things being concealed within the walls. This is, as I say, this is bleak. Like this, I found this quite disturbing, and it kind of stuck with me for a while afterwards.
Yeah, it's a real slow burner. And the real bleakness is packed into a relatively short amount of time at the end of the episode.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a general overriding bleakness of the breakdown of their marriage and the situation they find themselves in. That's
just a kind of sort of a grey dullness, and a deadness to life, and all the joy's been sucked out of everything, and there's nothing really happening in many different ways.
Makes it one of the most awkward scenes.
Oh.
In all of this program, or indeed of any program.
Yeah, it's and there are some fantastically acted scenes, and I think Nicola Walker as Harry or Harriet is such a good casting move. Like, she plays that kind of downtrodden, exhausted, partner perfectly, and that dynamic between you're just imagining, like, how did this relationship start? What did it look like 20 years ago when they first got married, and things were probably a little bit less like they are now, and how's it ended up like this? Why?
And the thing is that they managed to, with the writing, kind of swing the blame and swing the sympathy between the two of them really well.
Yeah, it's like a pendulum the way that it happens.
It is,
isn't it?
because it starts out at the beginning with Adrian engrossed in his jigsaw, and seemingly very cold, and he's got his administrative head on when it comes to renewing their wedding vows.
Yeah.
And very little interest in her at all. And she seems, as you said, like the downtrodden, middle-aged lady who has nothing going on in her marriage, nothing exciting in her life. and that's all down to him.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the information comes out about the affair halfway through the episode, suddenly you think she's to blame for all this. Things aren't working properly in any areas of their marriage because of her infidelity. And that's what's pushed him away and pushed him to a point where he just retreats down to his photography studio and keeps pushing her away. And then, obviously, it swings right back the other way when it turns out he's an evil monster.
You're a long time.
It's market day. It was busy.
Through that scene with the role play and everything, where you're watching that and it swings back the other way a little bit because you're thinking Harriet's trying. She's really trying, and he is not. Like, he has no interest in trying at all. So yeah, as you say, it's like that swing between them, and I think it's probably quite a realistic portrayal of those sorts of situations where
to a point
it's well, yeah, to that point of the monstrousness, where it's like neither of them are to blame. It's both of them, like it's just difficult, and that's where it's such an amazing episode, because you don't, until that point where he goes back down into the basement and fires up the pot noodle kettle. You don't know, and even at that point, you're like, "Oh, is he going down? Is this a nod to The Office? Is it like he's going down for a pot noodle and a wank? Is that all it is?"
I guess it's to some extent, like, his character's summed up a bit by that bit right in that first scene when he's talking about his jigsaw. Yeah, and he says it's a murder mystery. The picture on the front bears no resemblance to the picture on the jigsaw.
Yeah.
And you're immediately set up for what you're seeing of this guy Adrian, who looks like he is the most boring man you could ever imagine coming across. There's something lurking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really clever line. Yeah, it just sort of sets that sense of like, yeah, what we're dealing with here is, again, like we've seen so many times through Inside Number 9, the thing on the surface is not the thing that's lurking beneath. And when he says, like, it's I'm working in the dark to some extent, which is quite a challenge. And then Harry's like, that sounds like fun. It's like, does it? Like, I'm not. It doesn't actually, but yeah, the layers to that line.
Yeah. It's his job and what he's doing when he goes down there.
He's got his dark room and he's got his double dark room.
His double dark room.
Is that the one Sue and Dave bought you for Christmas?
Yeah, it's a mystery puzzle. Murder on the Green. There's a booklet which sets out the story, but the picture on the box bears no resemblance to the actual jigsaw, so you're working in the dark to some extent. Quite a challenge.
Sounds like fun.
Well, I enjoy it.
So, like, we're introduced to the pot noodles, like, right at the start. Like, we see them going into the house.
Her establishing shot is her getting out of the car with the pot noodles.
With a good old crate of pot noodles.
I didn't know they were sold like that.
No, she'd probably been to a wholesaler. Yeah, and like that just reminded me of that kind of nod to how you do humour, which is to be specific.
Very specific, yeah.
It's like it's not a biscuit, a Garibaldi. Yeah. This is it's a pot noodle.
They're not instant noodles. No, it has to be
just
a pot
any
noodle.
noodle. Yeah, it's a pot noodle.
I guess it had to be something that you could make just with a kettle, really. Something that could potentially sustain someone.
Yeah.
In a darkened room with only a kettle that's believable for him to be snacking on while he's doing his work.
And I mean, I suppose, like, my initial thought was, that's not a great advert for pot noodle. But then afterwards I was like, no, it's a great advert for pot noodle. Like, you can live off a pot noodle for 9 years. You can live off pot noodles for 9 years. And
I don't think it's suggesting that it's a good diet.
She seems okay at the she seems better than you would expect when
She does, but she has potentially been recovering for 4 months.
Yeah, that's true.
It may have taken 4 months for her to get over the effects of
not just
pot noodle induced malnutrition
and
being locked up and
raped
by Adrian.
Yeah. There's it's not just the pot noodle.
There's some. Look at the pot noodle is okay. Right. It made me think. Being fed pot noodles every day for 9 years isn't as bad as other things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my point is just
pot noodles. It could be worse.
It's not as bad. It's not as bad an advert for pot noodle as I thought it was initially. Like, I don't know.
As if no.
I got your pot noodles. Do you want them downstairs?
Oh no, just leave them there. Thank you.
Don't know why you like these.
Oh, they're easy for when I'm working.
Just kind of like walking, I suppose, stepping through the episode. That vow scene when they are... So it's broken up into 5 sections, isn't it? So you go through the different vows. The first one's for better and for worse.
Yeah.
And it's in this scene where you kind of have that establishing thing of they're renewing their vows. I mean, the indications we're getting is like it's probably not going to solve anything.
It feels like it's being done as an attempt to solve.
Yeah.
To try and make things better rather than as a sign that things are better.
As a symbol that they've sorted things out and we're going to start again.
It's more, but it's supposed to be part of the effort to get better, I think.
Yeah, and Harriet's obviously written some quite nice vows, which Adrian thinks are a tiny bit long, but they're fine. And then says that he's already done it, which turns out to just be a template for a civil partnership from lesbianweddings.com.
Harry didn't want to be surprised.
No, she didn't.
Because she was going to have £200 of makeup on. Which is a lot of makeup.
That's a lot of
makeup. That's
very
heavy.
Very heavy makeup.
Very heavy makeup.
I mean, how many stones that?
A lot of stone.
£14 in a stone.
that's about 15 stone.
It's a lot. It's heavier than me.
Makeup.
It's a lot of makeup. Which you can see why he's kind of like a bit surprised. Like £200 of makeup. You what?
Well, he can't imagine making anywhere near that level of effort.
No.
For her. I mean, the fact that he's downloaded some vows and can't even be bothered to probably insert his name into them whilst reading them out.
I assume that's my name.
Right. I insert name. Presumably that's my name, so that's Adrian, obviously. I declare that I know of no legal reason why we may not register as partners. I understand that on signing this document, we will be forming a civil partnership with each other.
Civil partnership?
Yeah. Is that not right? I took it from a website.
What website? Lesbianweddings.com?
What does it really matter, Harry? You know that I love you, and I know that you love me. Yeah, there's no need to spend a fortune on a party to prove it.
You don't have to invite anybody. It's not about that. I'd be happy doing it with just me and you and a ring pull from a can of Diet Pepsi.
They don't do ring pulls anymore for health and safety reasons.
You know what I mean?
All of our sympathy at the moment is on Harry.
Yeah.
And she said he's too busy focusing on other people's weddings because he photographs them and there's no physical intimacy with them at all.
Yeah.
And this is where the phone is happening.
Yeah, so there's those 2 phone calls, isn't there? Yeah.
One he picks up where they just put the phone straight down. And then it goes again. She picks up and she just says no.
Yeah. Hello.
And puts it down.
Yeah.
Which we're assuming is the guy from previously.
Yeah. Well, later on we're assuming that. At the moment we're kind of like, it's obviously important.
Well, yeah, and also Steve looks very upset.
Yeah.
When she says, because she makes a point of a lie when she says it was a wrong number. she doesn't just leave it.
Yeah.
She makes a point of coming out with a lie, which I think is what probably hurts him more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that he has any right to feel hurt about anything, because he's a dreadful, dreadful human being.
But at this stage, on first viewing, you're watching this thinking, oh, it seems like something's going on. She's covering something, or I don't know. Even if you necessarily do, you're just like, oh, the phone's ringing, and it's a wrong number. But yeah, and so and this is kind of off the back of like she just wants to do the vow renewal. Doesn't care if it's just them and a ring pull from a can of Pepsi Max or Diet Pepsi at the
which they're not allowed to, which they don't have anymore because of health and safety reasons.
That was there's the return of Steve's character from
Private View.
Private View, yeah. And like talking about Steve's character, like it's quite good to return to one of his like nasty characters, because we've been very like last week with Hugo, and just some of his other ones where you're like really that you're just heartbroken with things that happen to him. Like this one, you're like, no, I have no affection for you.
And speaking of some of Steve's nastier characters, he does actually slip into a bit of a Tubbs voice at the end when he's panicking.
Yeah.
He sounds just like Tubbs.
You haven't seen my keys, have you?
What?
Keys! Where's Aqua's keys?
I'm gonna crack them. Let me get keys. I thought we could go and visit those catacombs. You've always wanted to see them, haven't you?
Did you get any insurance?
What?
For the trip? In case one of us has an accident?
Yes, it's all sorted. Stop worrying, it's your birthday.
Tubbs isn't a nasty character.
I mean, her and Edward at the end of the revival episodes were particularly awful.
She means well.
She does. She's quite. I guess it's Edward's fault.
Edward, he drives that.
He's the driving evil.
So, scene 2, for richer, for poorer. So this is middle of the night. Harry wakes up, realises Adrian's not there. So this is when we descend into the basement for the first time, where everything's red, including all the bills. And Adrian says he's had a bad dream, so he's gone down.
This is one of 2 laugh out loud lines in this episode. Was this one? Was it the one with John Prescott and the cream eggs again?
It's not the John Prescott and the cream eggs again, is it? Again,
no,
be
that was
specific.
On the Adkins.
Be really specific. And like the fact that they've managed to insert little moments of humour like that, and I think most of them come from Harry. She delivers most of the...
It's that one and the one on the stairs where he says, I'll be up in a minute.
Yeah.
And she says, chance will be a fine thing.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 for me that actually made me laugh.
Really? Yeah.
But that was about it. So she goes down, he was in the toilet. In retrospect, the pot noodle placement is interesting, because she picks it up off the side, which is next to the toilet door, which means he's come out of the room, the bunker room, put it on the side as he goes into the toilet. Because otherwise, there's no reason for it to be there. It would just be on his desk, wouldn't
That's
it?
true.
He was just eating it at his desk. Blech. Blech.
Yeah. Yeah, and so we kind of experience him in a self-pitying mood at this point. And then there's the revelation that they've obviously been trying for a child. They haven't been able to have a child. His weak sperm couldn't produce Rachel or Levi, which makes her think of genes. It's obviously, there's a bit of a pun there. It's like I think so, genes have been created. And so this is quite an interesting. So like he says they're good biblical names. And so I was like, looking at the names as I do.
I know you love a name. You love names.
And so like Levi is one of Jacob's sons. Jacob deceived Isaac in order to become Israel, basically. So it's the beginning of the tribes of Israel. And so there's like, I don't know if there's a nod to Adrian being this kind of Jacob figure where deceiving people in order to get what he wanted. And then obviously it turns out in the end that he does have a son called Levi. And Jacob, I think, had 12 sons from a bunch of different women. And so it's like, it's an interesting little nod there, I think.
Nice. That's valid name research. I'm happy with that.
Cheers.
I can go with that.
And so this is a deceptive little moment where he's kind of, he's playing the victim. Later on, we understand this is very like just that whole thing of like, oh, it would have been Levi if we'd had a boy, or
it's just awful, isn't it?
It's just disgusting.
The whole thing here where he's manufacturing a situation to try and make her feel bad. He's going out and following her to get pictures of her with this guy that she had an affair with a couple of years ago, and all to make her feel guilty, whilst knowing that a few yards away he's got someone chained up in a bunker.
Yeah.
It's just
yeah, totally
vile behaviour.
Yeah. And so I have the conversation about the money, and I think, is this where we find out for sure about the affair? Because she's like, I could go back to Osborne's.
Yeah, and so they talk through the fact that she sucked off this guy in an Ibis. No, it wasn't. It was a Premier Inn. Again, very specific. Yeah. Not just a hotel. Go with the brand.
Yeah, and I love that little exchange around. I don't know if he still works there. I think he's got a new position. Yeah, I remember you telling me. I meant in the company. I know what you meant. Like that. To me, that was just like the most genius writing, because you kind of see it coming when he's like the new position,
so to speak.
Yeah, so to speak. And actually, it makes Harry come across like not that great when she's like, I meant in the company. And then it's like, like him saying, yeah, I remember you telling me, doesn't insinuate anything other than, you did tell me that he got a new position in the company. And yeah, I thought that was such a good line, such good writing.
Does he still work there?
I'm not sure. I think he's got a new position.
Yes, I remember you telling me.
I meant in the company.
Yeah, I know what you meant.
You'd have to trust me, Adrian.
I always did. Forsaking all others, remember?
I always find dark rooms fascinating.
Yeah.
In TV programs, it's one of those things where I think that like with records, the analog version is so much more impressive than the digital. Like I always feel like when listening to a record and watching it, it's so much more impressive that something physical can make those sounds.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Than it is playing a digital file on a computer or even a CD where a laser's just reading stuff. And the same with photos. I think it's just amazing. Yeah, the chemical stuff that goes on with that. And yeah, every time I see a darkroom on TV, I think, wow,
yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, totally.
How does that even work?
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, like, and on that sort of note, like, when you first watched it, what are you thinking at this point in terms of like what we're seeing emerge?
There was a weird shot earlier in the episode with there's a photo of a woman on some stairs that was it Harry's face kind of appeared over.
Yeah,
there's like this shot.
I know what you mean. Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I couldn't work out who the woman was, whether it was a younger Harry.
That was my assumption. It was Harry, but
or it was just an example of his work he was particularly proud of. It was just a bride that he took a photo of at some point that he really liked.
It's probably more likely, given what.
And
know about them as a couple.
And then there's also shots over his shoulder of various people hung up on the kind of the lines when he's doing his work, and the focus is almost pulled to those. And that's all a bit foreboding and a bit weird, but it doesn't really. It's almost a bit of a pushing you off in the wrong direction.
Yeah,
because also
when I first watched it, I was like, we've got like a 1 hour photo, the film. I don't know if you've seen that, with Robin Williams playing the kind of sinister photo bloke.
They always are, aren't they?
Yeah, or
there's always
like
something.
Peeping Tom, which is like the guy who like takes photos. I think he's got. Has he got like some sort of weapon in his camera, and so he'll film as he's killing someone.
Oh man!
Film that. Yeah. I've not seen it, but I think that's it came out like similar sort of time to Psycho, so it was like in the 60s. Yeah, and that kind of, to me, that was what I was. Are we moving down that sort of line where there is something really sinister about
to do with his,
but it's to do with the photos.
With his job.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The cleaner was mentioned in this scene as well.
Yes,
about her leaving.
Yeah,
because he came on to her.
Yeah,
he said he wasn't coming on. He wasn't flirting. He was just trying to get to clean under the toilet bowl. That was what happened, and that was why she left. Which seems an odd thing. An odd reason to suggest that she'd quit.
Yeah, and how asking someone to clean under the toilet bowl could be misconstrued as flirting.
His toilet bowl? I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, weird. And and this
he's also
because this is
go on.
Sorry. Yeah, this is where you see the sort of stalky photo of Harry with whatever the man's name is. I don't think do we hear his name at any point?
Don't think so.
To the guy at work. So he's obviously been following and taking photos, which is then what sets up that sense of like, okay, we've got a bit of a creepy voyeur situation potentially here.
But all of that is just against the backdrop of what he knows that he's doing himself, and that makes it so much worse.
Yeah, totally.
You've got a little bit of sympathy going on here for the fact that he's the cheated on, and it starts to dwindle a bit when you find out he's still following around with a long lens, like a creepy paparazzi taking photos of her with other people.
Yeah.
And he also plays the card of he wouldn't want to make her leave that house. She suggests they could move, and he says that I couldn't make you leave this house, knowing full well that it's him that can't leave because he's got a basement chamber.
Yeah.
For his chained up victim.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's putting all of this on her, and he's a selfless man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just it's grim. And then and this scene ends with her basically saying, "You won't let me in," and that kind of is quite resounding, on a few different levels, isn't it? I mean, she probably doesn't want to be let in.
I wouldn't. I'd leave it alone.
Leave it alone.
To be honest, probably head off.
Yeah.
If I were her, to be honest.
You make me sound like a swinger.
Well, you were very flirtatious with the women.
To get good pictures out of them, that's all.
What about Agnes?
Who?
Our cleaner. She left because you were coming on to her.
I wasn't coming onto her. I was trying to get her to clean under the toilet rim. Besides, there's a difference between flirting with someone and sucking them off in the Wolverhampton Ibis.
Once, Adrian. One time. And it was a premiere in.
And so the next vow, in sickness and in health. Nurse time.
That's the health, isn't it?
Yeah.
The health is here.
Nurse Honeypot is here to...
And this scene, so it begins with the health and ends with the sickness. Very much the sickness at the end of this scene.
Yeah, this is where the sickness arrives.
Yeah, sickness is here.
Yeah, Dick Shafter.
Dick Shafter. This reminded me of a slightly bleaker version of, in Gavin and Stacey.
Yeah.
The what are the couple called? Pete and yeah, and they try some role play where he's a pilot. Mark over Mars.
Yeah, Mark over Mars.
It just made me think of that. Middle-aged people trying to pull their marriage back together with role play puts me in mind of that.
Yeah, and it's one of the most uncomfortable things you can ever watch, especially with when one person's really not into it and is more concerned about like oil spilling,
causing a stain.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is the thing, though, about all of this scene is that he comes off as such a reserved, innocent character who is just very uncomfortable with the idea of anything that isn't vanilla or maybe a bit adventurous, that makes the twist at the end so much bigger, because he couldn't be that monster because he is... Yeah. He's more worried about the massage oil staining the floor.
Yeah. Which is that line of like, I thought I was married to the most boring person in the world. Turns out I'm married to a monster.
Yeah. And that means all of this is an act. When he's sat there with his arms crossed and then pinned by his sides, and Yeah, and you almost feel sorry for. It's difficult. Like, I'm not sure what I feel for him, but at this point, I feel like she is trying very hard, but at the end of the day, he's struggling to feel physically intimate with her because of what's happened in the past, and he can't let that go, and that's kind of understandable. And I kind of get that. I understand why he might be feeling that way, and so she, as hard as she tries, it can't undo the damage that she's done. And so, to some extent, I'm still in pendulum. My sympathy is with him.
Yeah. You're in Adrian's corner.
I'm in Adrian's corner right now, and that's not a corner that
on Adrian's
I wanted
wall.
To be in at the end.
No, it's not.
Yeah, he doesn't want to go upstairs. He doesn't want to shower with her. He doesn't want to do anything with her.
Yeah, that conversation is horrible. Should we go upstairs? No. Do you want to shower together? Not really. It's not you, it's me. Oh, there's the line. I can't. Yeah. And then it's when he says, like, it's good of you to suggest these things, but I'm too old for role play. Like, just that whole, it's good of you to suggest these things. It's so like,
boring, and
it's so bland. Yeah, like, this is...
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the sort of thing where, if they did and they finished, and he'd say, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
It's really good of you to suggest all these things, Harry, but I think I'm a bit old for role play.
Well, what do you like, Adrian? And what is this? I haven't died yet. I want us to do things together while we still can.
Yeah, and so then we see the arrival of Max and Hannah. And I was wondering, did he genuinely forget they were coming? Had Harry and Adrian planned like an after? Was this like in the diary? We're gonna give it a go.
He's got a lot on his mind, Adrian. So it wouldn't surprise me if he hadn't clocked that was the same afternoon, and they just decided that morning, okay, this afternoon we'll make time for each other. Yeah, and it just slipped his mind.
Yeah, that was my thought. Yeah, and it just...
it was easy for her to read it as a...
You've done this on purpose.
Well, on the one hand, at the moment he's coming across as someone who wouldn't be that deceptive. On the other hand, given what we then know about him, yes, that is entirely possible. That's what he did.
Yeah. Yeah. But even still, at the end, he's deceptive, but it doesn't seem like he's like really calculating in the way that...
No, that is true.
I don't know. There's something about him that's like he's missing a piece of the puzzle, so to speak. as a calculating psychopath. It's almost like he's just fallen into this.
He stumbled into this situation where he's got someone chained up in his basement. Is now like, yeah, I guess the fact that it's suddenly a case of on a day-to-day basis he pops down with a couple of pot noodles, and the thought of being away from the house for 6 days just suddenly fills him with dread because he can't really think that far ahead.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what it. Yeah, and like
he's just a bit chaotic with this whole thing.
Yeah, and he's just going from one moment to the next, thinking, I just need to stay at home. I need to be around here so that I can maintain this thing that I've created. Yeah. So, it's weird because it doesn't feel like a premeditated, right, I'm going to imprison someone. It's almost like...
That's true, yeah.
But then you get into the question of like, so why has he done that? Like, why in the first place did he...
It is the one thing about this episode that does sort of leave you a little bit, because they have to sort of pile in a lot because of the nature of the episode and how it's written and how it builds, is that they leave it late to reveal what's actually going on, because that makes it hit harder, because it has felt like a humdrum middle-aged marriage breakdown drama for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That so a lot of it is left to you personally, just you.
Just me.
So if you could let us all know.
Cool.
What led up to that and what the motives were and all those sorts of things are kind of left up to us a little bit. And that is, I guess, part because of the 30 minutes limit on this. And maybe this is one that would have benefited from an extra 10 or 15.
But I still can't believe they did all of this in 30 minutes.
No. And it's not often we say that.
That's on the Quiet Night Inside number 9 bingo card. No, exactly. But then equally, I think an explanation that I kind of came to and am happy with is just the fact maybe he got her pregnant and would find it easier to keep someone like imprisoned in a basement than telling his wife. I don't know.
The only problem with that is that she left 9 years ago, or he built the darkroom 9 years ago.
Yeah,
and that kid's not 9,
isn't he?
No, I don't think so.
Younger.
I think he's younger than that.
Okay,
so that may.
I didn't really age him.
He may well have gotten her pregnant while she was a chained up slave,
right?
Which is
Joseph Fritzl sort of territory.
It is pretty Fritzly.
Yeah. So
at some point he just hit her with the chloroform, took her down to the basement, chained her up.
Do you reckon that's how it started?
I think that's probably what happens. Yeah.
Well done, mate.
Thanks, mate. Did it.
For anyone listening, we've been looking for an opportunity to
reintroduce chloroform into our lexicon. It disappeared for a couple of series.
Yeah.
I made you beef and tomato. Try not to spill it.
Yeah, so Reese is involved.
Right, so I feel like someone said to Reese, can you play this character as the sort of person that you hate the most? Because I can't for a second imagine that Reese spends a lot of his time in shorts with high tops on.
But he suits it. It's fine.
He does.
And
with his long hair that's almost in curtains.
What blows my mind about Reese Shearsmith is the fact that he can play this guy's probably like mid to late 20s.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
and you're like, I believe that this guy is mid to late 20s. And that's one of the things that I got from Tom and Jerry was the sense that Reese Shearsmith can play any age. Like he can do a character of any age.
So the middle-aged professor in the Sphinx. He was a fairly nondescript in terms of age hitman assassin in the previous episode of this.
Yeah, Scandinavian assassin.
Scandinavian assassin, Victor. He's a chameleon. He could be anything.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Just brilliant.
Yeah. Maybe we probably talk too much about Steve's character acting.
Yeah.
Whereas in reality, Reese
just age
is just
acting.
quietly,
all about the age.
Wants.
All about the age. Just different ages. It's brilliant.
For different times. Good work, Reese.
Yeah. So Hannah and Max bring another level of awkwardness to this already awkward scene. As Harry carries on drinking and making comments.
I work in a morgue. I handle corpses.
Yeah.
Isn't that right,
Isn't
Adrian?
that right? Yeah. Love that. That was nice. And then there's that like pedantic moment of we got married in a boring register office.
A register office.
And it wasn't boring. And that reminded me, I was listening to Adam Buxton's podcast earlier when I was out running. His latest one.
I listened to Adam Buxton while I was out walking earlier as well.
Oh, great.
Except mine was with Robbie.
It's the Robbie. Yeah, the next one. And he talks about, like in his book, he has his little arguments with his wife.
Yeah.
And so there's a new argument, which is the term restaurateur versus restaurateur. And which has enlightened me.
Is it restaurateur?
It's restaurateur.
No.
And so
no.
And so he said him and his wife were watching Newsnight, and Kirsty Walk kept saying restaurateur as she was talking to a restaurateur, and then Adam Buxton, and you can imagine it because it's like he discovered it because he got it wrong with a friend who is a restaurateur. Yeah, and so I think he'd been humiliated by his friend, so then he was paying it forward to his wife and set it up when he was watching Newsnight. He's like, I can't believe that they keep calling it restaurateur, like when it's restaurateur. And then had an argument because she was like, "You're an idiot. It's not restaurateur. It's restaurateur. And he was like, and I didn't kind of jump up and dance around, but I knew 100% that I was right. So yeah, it reminded me of that. It's funny.
Apparently, by the mid-1700s in French, a restaurateur could also be a person who made a restorative soup called restaurant. The soup was made with meat juice and thought to be medicinal.
Wow.
And that's why.
I didn't know that bit.
Amazing.
Cheers, man.
This is the Adam Buxton podcast now, where we pull apart episodes of the Adam Buxton podcast.
Yeah. No, I'm sure there's people listening who will find that really useful information and will get into an argument at some point with someone.
I like the fact that he's so into keeping score with his wife and their arguments that he's now setting up arguments only when he knows he can win.
When he's 100% certain that he's right.
I've got the information I need. I'm going to start an argument about this knowing that I have the correct answer.
Exactly. So register office.
Yeah, sorry, that was a tangent.
And yeah, Harry wanted doves at her wedding, but Adrian said he was allergic, which is yet another little nod to this man is so boring and like he's allergic to frigging doves. So there are two grey pigeons outside a council building, and he's best with other people's marriages.
I don't buy the idea that you'd be allergic to doves, but pigeons are fine, given that doves are just fancy pigeons, aren't they? That's all a dove is.
And even if you're allergic to dove, you don't like. They're just sort of
you don't
fly
handle
somewhere
them,
else.
Yeah. Their job is to fly off.
Yeah.
They piss off by their very nature. They're birds. Yeah.
It's like the perfect thing for an allergy. They're going. They're leaving.
They run away.
I wanted doves, but Adrian said he was allergic.
No, I didn't.
2 grey pigeons we had outside a council building.
Well, they're really good.
Yeah, it's great with other people's marriages. The best.
Why don't we leave you to look at these in peace? Come on, Harry.
Now you want to touch me?
Stop it!
Yeah, and so then Adrian tries to sort of get Harry out of the room. Oh, now you want to touch me, she says.
Yes.
Yeah, and all this in front of the clients.
Yeah, and the I bet you'd like to put me on a memory stick. What does that even mean?
What does that even mean? Yeah, I love little moments like that.
What does that even mean? I'll be up in a minute. Chance would be a fine thing.
There's your second laugh out loud
it is.
moment.
Second and final.
Oh. And Hannah makes the comment that
They've got a lovely house.
they've got a lovely house as they're leaving.
She was really taking a shine to it.
Yeah. And like you just what I love about that is you're thinking that's just a bit of a awkward like small talk.
Something you say to
comment.
people. Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Lovely house.
I think what does Max says, like, it was nice meeting you. It's like clearly not.
It
really,
was
is
horrible. It was awkward. It was excruciating.
This was really nasty. And then, oh, you've got a lovely house. And actually, that there's a callback to that later on. And it's like, no, she genuinely meant it.
Yeah.
They really want that house.
I mean, I think Hannah's the sort of person who wears her heart on her sleeve. There's not a lot of conniving going on with her.
No, she's there. Everything's... Yeah,
they're a nice, perky, simple couple, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they're doing well. Yeah. And so this is, as you say, in sickness comes
the sickness.
interview.
Yes.
At the moment. And it's a real, like, this is such an amazing scene with the music. So it's like this lamenting, yet kind of perky, like bouncy music as he goes into the basement and makes his pot noodle.
That's the thing. It's almost like we're seeing him just kind of retreat down to his dark room. They've had a horrible argument because things are terrible still because their marriage is falling apart. But he's going to go and take solace in his pot noodle and a wank.
And you're thinking, exactly. I'm about to see what happens, what he does when he's eating a pot noodle. Basically, that's going to be revealed here. And then, there's a secret key. There's a secret door. What are we expecting at that point? What were you expecting when you...
I don't
Can you remember?
No, I wasn't sure. I didn't know whether there was going to be like a lockbox or something that he had something in that had pictures in or
Playboy
something.
magazine.
Yeah, or just or pictures of someone. Some weird pictures that he was going to get all mental and stalkery whilst viewing. Maybe a bride that he'd taken pictures of, that he'd taken a shine to, like the picture upstairs that we saw earlier. Maybe, something dark. I felt like we were probably going to see something a bit dark because that's the nature of this program. I didn't think it was going to be this dark.
And the hand comes, that
hand,
and the music transition here, like the ominous strings. It's like it's a bit like the strings in Diddle Diddle Dumpling, and you're like, right, this is just the tone has shifted.
There's a lot of cello, wasn't there?
Yeah, like, and it's that bit that you were talking about earlier with the photos on the
that was it
on the string behind him. And so his face is like almost demonic. And there's these like happy, smiling brides and couples and kind of wedding scenes behind him. And as the pot noodle comes to fruition, like there's something about his face where you're like, okay, this feels a bit uncomfortable. And then he delivers it. The arm reaches out and he undoes his trousers, shuts the door, and you're like,
oh God.
Oh, it's beef and tomato.
The worst of all the pot noodles. Although I think Bombay Bad Boy might be up there as well.
Yeah, sounds pretty nasty. I mean,
no, me neither, but
can't remember the last time I had a pot noodle.
Probably when you were trapped in your uni room.
Yeah. Oh, when you lock me in my
that
in the basement at
chloroform.
Yeah, and that final line, "Try not to spill it," resonates. It's like that means several things. That's nasty. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Flying Scotsman. I am going to be a busy boy.
I wanted to get you one of those mats where you roll it all up and you can take it with you, but they didn't have any in stock.
Oh, well, never mind. We never go anywhere, do we? As you're always telling me. No, it's super. Thanks, darling.
I thought we could do this one together. Seeing how it's so big.
Oh, God, I've dragged you down to my level, have I?
No, I genuinely want to. Honestly.
Scene 4.
Yeah, and
To love and to
I
cherish.
like that the dark music carried through into this title card.
Yeah.
Still there.
And then you're like pulled out of that moment of like, what the hell, into what seems to be a fairly happy scene on Adrian's birthday. And they both seem a bit more chilled out, a bit more relaxed.
Yeah, it feels very much like, I mean, we're not given a time frame here, are we?
No.
So we don't know
no.
whether some time has passed and they have worked through some things, and he's decided that if he's going to keep this up, he better start making an effort in his normal life.
Yeah.
So as not to start being suspected of leading a
You need to
deviant
maintain
sexual life.
some kind of status quo in this situation. But as a viewer, you're watching it and you're thinking, well, hold on a second. Hold on. I cannot unsee or forget what I have just seen.
That arm cannot be unseen.
Like that, it is still there?
Yeah.
What, like, can we... I've got a lot of questions
Can we
right
please
now.
address?
Like,
Can we please address the captive in the room?
yeah.
It's not an elephant, but
And like, Harry, seriously, why have you bought him a birthday present?
Harry, there's someone chained up in the basement. Are you not aware of this?
He does not deserve birthday present.
He doesn't deserve a puzzle. I'm glad she didn't manage to get the mat. He doesn't deserve a mat.
Yeah.
If that's a weird thing. I was going to get you this, but they didn't have any, so you haven't got one. Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Whilst you're enjoying the things I did get you.
It is a weird thing, but it is also like a thing that people say. People always they were like, I wanted to get you like the other one, but like they didn't have it, or it was just a bit more expensive.
Would you like a dispassionate list of all the things I didn't buy you? Because, I mean,
but that happens.
The number of things I didn't buy you is a lot bigger than the number of things I did.
But are you telling me that's you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. I don't think I've ever done it. I mean, I can't imagine giving someone a gift whilst at the same time explaining them why I didn't get them something different. I don't have to justify it. This is a gift. Enjoy your gift.
I got you this. I wanted to get you something better, but I couldn't be bothered. Sorry.
I could have looked harder for one. In the one shop I went to, they didn't have it. So
yeah, that's it. I just went to Sainsbury's, so I just got you some plums.
Is that where you get your plums?
I don't think I've ever bought plums from Sainsbury's.
Have you ever bought plums?
I don't think
I don't think I've ever bought plums.
I'm not a massive fan of plums.
No. I've had plums. I think I've bought plums.
Generally, I probably Satsumas I get from Sainsbury's. Be specific. Yeah. So yeah, the three presents: the Flying Scotsman jigsaw, which Harry wants them to do together, and there's a bit of a foreboding line that Adrian delivers of like, "Oh, look, I've dragged you down to my level." It's like, you just wait. You just wait.
You have no idea.
Then there's the Bombay bad boy pot noodle.
Oh, a light-hearted joke about the pot noodles that he takes down to his basement and gives to the woman chained up in down there.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a part of you that's like, this, when you kind of step back and just look at the tragic nature of these birthday presents. This man is a sad man.
I mean, yeah, I guess
it's a pot noodle and a jigsaw.
The The one thing that she can joke about his character with him is the fact that he eats pot noodles. That's the funny thing about him.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the only funny quirk he has. He's got quirks, but they're not funny.
And it's not his quirk.
No, that's true.
The quirk is he uses them
to sustain.
And they're very good for sustaining people over a long period of time.
They're the best part about being locked in a basement. Pot noodle. The highlight of your day when you're locked in a basement. Makes them seem not that bad.
How many does he give them?
I don't know. Do they get one each?
One a day?
Each.
I don't know, he only took one in.
He did. Do they have to share that?
I don't know.
But then, I mean, that's the least of the concern about what's going on whilst both of them are in that room in that basement. Yeah.
And then the third present is 6 Nights in Paris.
Yes.
Which, you know, if I was given that, I'd be like, great, hello.
I like Paris. Paris
Brilliant.
is a nice place.
I love Paris. And the fact they haven't been away for 9 years.
We know why.
Since the dark room was built.
The dark room.
The darkest
uber room.
Dark room. The even darker room and the dark room.
Yeah, no, it has to be darkest. Darker suggests that it could get darker still.
Okay, we'll put a limit on the darkness.
Darker, darkest.
6 nights. Right, well, I'd better go and sort some things out. Don't even know where my passport is.
Oh, it's all right, I found it downstairs.
What do you mean?
It was just in a drawer. Don't worry about it, everything's sorted.
And I've got my mum and dad coming to house sit while we're away.
What? No, you can't!
Someone's got to water the plants, haven't they? You don't want to come home and find everything dead.
Shit!
The one bit that would stress me out
is that they're going today.
Is this afternoon, yeah. Like, even if I didn't have any... No, I don't have anyone...
Even if I didn't. And I know what that's like. I know what it's like to be given no notice when you're being taken away for a week and you've got someone to keep alive who's chained up in your basement. We all know what that's like. Relatable.
Okay.
Rephrase. Try again.
Given my own sort of, you know, mundane existence, if I was told, I've got you 6 nights in Paris.
Brilliant.
And we're going this afternoon.
Oh, no. I'd be
like...
Come on.
You
could have said tomorrow. Yeah.
At least tomorrow.
That allows me to get some tins in and maybe a gas stove for the thing chained up in the basement.
No, I don't have anything chained up there anymore.
Well done.
Yeah, and there's the Adrian very sinister delivery of that. My God, you're very good at keeping secrets, aren't you? And
yes.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's that side of him is very much coming out, and he's not Mr. Boring Adrian anymore. He's psychopath Adrian.
Psychopath. Yeah, and he tries to sort of bargain with her and make her like making all the points of like why they shouldn't be able to go. Talks about work. And it's like, no, they've let me go, or it almost seems like they're encouraging her to go because it's like, oh, good, you're actually taking a holiday, you're going to go somewhere. This is going to be good for your productivity and mental health.
The in-laws are coming round to look after the house.
Yeah. Adrian doesn't know where his passport is. That's fine. Harry's found it in a drawer downstairs.
Well, yeah, which drawer?
Which drawer?
And then he starts to worry about where the key's gone.
Yeah, because he has that panic, and you're thinking, "Oh, has she found something?" But then he finds the key.
That for just a second there, it was just a second. You're like, "Uh-oh,
yeah,
is she onto this?" And that's what this is. No,
yeah,
it's okay. He's found.
And that's a weird thing, isn't it? When you're like, "Uh-oh," it's like, no, it would be good if she does.
If she does suddenly appear down the bottom of the stairs with a sledgehammer and clobber his head in, that would be fine. At this point, I'm on board with that.
Yeah. Or if he like goes into the the darkest room and realizes it's empty because they've been released, and they come up behind him and clobber him
with a sledgehammer.
There we go.
Most positive endings of this episode involve a sledgehammer to Adrian's head. Not Steve's head. Adrian's head.
Adrian. And so, obviously parents are coming to water the plants because she wouldn't want to come home and find anything dead. Or everything dead. And this, it's just sheer panic from Adrian at this point.
He's just
with the Tubbs moment.
Scrubbing.
You haven't seen my keys, have you? And she's like, again, a brilliant nod. We can go and see the catacombs in Paris.
Yes. I thought
because
that.
you really want to see it.
He loves that.
Like, I bet he does.
Yep.
I bet he does.
He loves dark underground layers full of death and suffering.
And then it's just the weird moment where he asks about the insurance.
Wants to make sure that's sorted.
So
Would hate for her to lose money.
Yeah, because he probably, we know he's a tight ass, so that is important to him, genuinely. And then it's what's he doing?
Yeah, I don't really know.
Why is he doing this?
He's just full on panic, I guess, and he doesn't know what else to do. And his last resort is, if I fling myself down these stairs, we won't be able to go. That's all he can think of.
And what do you think his hope is with doing that? What's he got in his head of? Because it's like horrific.
It will be just bad enough that they can't go, or that he can plausibly say, "I can't go now. I've hurt my leg, or I've broken my arm, or something." He probably does himself a little bit more damage than he was expecting to, by the looks of things. Because he
maybe
looks in
should
a
have
bit
gone
of a
from
mess.
halfway down.
Maybe, he took a bit of a leap there.
Yeah.
I
don't know if I'd be able to do that.
I think your instinct for self-preservation will kick in, and you go,
yeah.
Unless his instinct for self-preservation is swung so heavily in the favour of not being found out about having a dungeon, that
I suppose,
an arm break would be small fry in comparison to that, perhaps.
Yeah. And then when he's lying at the bottom of the stairs, he's saying or sort of mouthing sorry.
Yeah.
Which seems quite genuine. And he's like looking almost towards the darkest room.
Yeah, he may think that he's done himself an awful lot of damage. And
to the point where he's now killed by neglect because no one knows they're there.
Yeah, exactly. And that he is genuinely sorry, because you might write, like you said earlier, that he kind of almost fell into this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't something that he planned to do, but then the construction of a secret room off of your dark room suggests some sort
There are
of
many
plan.
points at which he could stop.
And there is that. Although, is it almost like a sunk cost by this point, where he's in a lot of trouble either way?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, there might be an element of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then till death us do part.
Adrian! Oh my God!
Sorry.
Adrian, stay with me. Stay with me.
Sorry.
The final piece of the jigsaw goes into the puzzle, and then Harriet tears it up. So which I love as a metaphor. So we've got that complete picture, but then it's not quite what it seems. It gets torn up again. So yeah, like I think there is a nod to what we're going through as viewers at that point.
Yeah.
And then you hear somebody letting Max and Hannah in.
Yeah, you don't know that it's not him at this point, do you?
No. So they bring the champagne in as a thank you to Adrian, which you're thinking, okay, that isn't Adrian then. because she's delivering the champagne through, or they're delivering the champagne through Harry. And then we find out that Adrian died 4 months ago. And Max is a bit confused. Like he's like, oh, I don't know if you're going to want the champagne now.
Well, and there's also, they give this look that I wondered whether they had their suspicions about the fact that he had died almost immediately after they saw them having some horrific marital difficulties and a horrible blazing row in front of them, and whether they thought it, when she just said he fell down the stairs,
he had an accident.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Accident, was it?
But
then again, actually, they are so they're still in very heavy newlywed mode, aren't they? And maybe they don't even give that a second thought, because actually they'd quite like their house.
Yeah, which is their main priority.
If you're thinking about moving at any point, give us a call.
Yeah. And I love the fact it's okay. We're very happy for you to stay as long as you like. And then Harry's like, "Thank you. That's very kind."
Yeah, that's very kind of letting.
She's not expressed any desire to sell the house at any point. They've just decided they want it. And then, Max is so eager he leaves his email address as well as his phone number.
That conversation is the sort of thing you'd have after. It turns out Harry was renting the house. They'd just bought it, and they were the new landlords of that house. They were thinking they wanted to move into that house instead, but they told her, "Don't worry about it. You can stay here as long as you like." Not, "You currently own this house, but don't worry about selling it to us until you want to." Oh, thanks.
Exactly.
Thanks so much.
It's such an absurd conversation.
One thing we were going to mention.
Max, not now.
Well, whilst we're here.
It's fine. I don't mind. What is it?
Well, it's just that we've been looking at houses in this area, and Hannah took a real shine to this one.
Blame me.
Well, you did. We both did. And we just wanted to say, if you were ever thinking of selling, would you please let us know first?
But don't feel you have to on our account. We're very happy for you to stay as long as you like, can't we?
Yeah. You take your time.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. To be honest, I can't think about moving at the moment, but do leave me your number.
Okay. I'll give you my email as well.
She can't think about moving right now.
Well, she definitely can't. She's got this. This is the same as Adrian's reason from before, isn't it?
Exactly. And so she's had obviously the stress of the death of a loved one, the threat of divorce, imprisonment, which we don't know about yet, erectile dysfunction, all of these things to deal with. Moving house is 32nd on the list of most stressful things, but that is just a step too far. But it's obviously, don't want to move. Things are too stressful. And then, I like that kind of, as Max and Hannah are on their way out, I wonder what's down there. Like, that's almost, it's that moment that you get at the end of a horror film, isn't it?
Yeah.
That just opens the door, like a little crack of the door
maybe.
to the sequel. Yeah.
This ain't getting a sequel.
It's not getting a sequel. And you know that's not, it's kind of not even on the cards, but
Series 6.
and then it's not our house yet.
Yeah.
They're very presumptuous. It's going to be their
They've
house
just
at some
decided,
point.
haven't they? This is their
It's
house.
either going to be a home cinema or a home gym. And then we see who's answered the door, which is the cleaner, and she's called Agnes. So obviously Harry is like, right, now that Adrian's gone, I can get Agnes back because I'm,
This is weird, isn't it? Like, I don't.
When you realise that.
Yeah. Why did she decide to stay and clean for Harry? Having been locked in that basement.
It is a big question. Yeah.
Is there like a Stockholm syndrome thing going on here? Or is there a kind of sense of indebtedness to Harry for getting them out? And
there could be.
Or wanting to just be part of the locking up of Adrian as revenge. And just being close to that makes her happy.
Yeah. Or a mixture of all of that.
Yeah.
And a sense of You've been there for 9 years. You've got nowhere else to go.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. No one knows who you are or where you've been, really.
No. And
Harry's a friendly face.
You've basically been in the dark on your own. Well, you and Levi, as it turns out, for that length of time. So you're probably you're not going to have a lot of ability to have ambition.
No, we have to do some gap filling here of our own in the kind of the intervening period between him throwing himself down the stairs and how that then leads to them getting out. He was still holding the key, wasn't he? Because he grabbed the key and then he was running up the stairs, but then he threw himself down. So she must have... He's just in a wild panic, isn't he, I guess?
I think that's what it is, yeah. And again, it's a nod to what we were saying earlier of he's not fully in control of this situation.
No.
It's not calculated. It's just slapdash making it up as he goes on.
You got to be careful here. We're going to get accused of like with Greg in Empty Orchestra about
I have no sympathy with Adrian.
This person isn't as bad as in a minute. It's going to turn out that Adrian knew sign language, and we're going to decide he was actually quite a nice guy all along.
You don't have to do this, you know.
I want to. At least for now. Is everything okay, Mrs. Connor?
No, not really. Still can't get my head around. If I hadn't booked that trip, if Adrian hadn't fallen, I never would have found you.
I know.
He told me he'd sacked you and you just left. I remember it like it was yesterday.
It was not yesterday. It was 9 years.
I really like that moment where Harry's talking to Agnes and says, I keep thinking if I hadn't booked the trip, and your assumption is, she's blaming herself for Adrian's death and like all these regrets are coming through. And then that's when the reveal comes, I would have never found you. And then you realise, okay, it was Agnes down there.
She didn't quit.
Yeah. And then, there's that kind of slightly awkward moment where Harry says, it feels like just yesterday when you were, here. And it was like, no, it was 9 years ago. And it's like, I think time has gone a bit slower for Agnes than it has, even in the torturous nature of this horrific marriage. Agnes has experienced time in a much more torturous sort of way than you have.
9 years of pot noodle is a lot of pot noodle.
It's just, you can't imagine. You can't imagine. And that's where the line about I thought I was living with the most boring man in the world, turns out he was a monster. And then this is where a little lad enters.
Levi.
He's called Levi.
That's horrible.
You're like,
That's just horrible, isn't it?
Chekhov's gun.
There it was again.
Yeah.
If you've got that on your inside, quite like inside number 9 bingo. Although that's probably a more recent one.
Yes, well, since Riddle.
By the way, there's someone who had chloroform on there that's been playing the long game. They've been waiting for a month. Bingo! Finally, house!
Yeah. Yeah, and then the next revealing line is, you should have let him die. And Harry says, I couldn't do that. He's my husband.
Which makes me wonder if they didn't go to the hospital. And she's actually just kept him alive at home.
Well, yeah, that's a good point, yeah.
She does have a nurse's outfit. So she's probably well qualified.
She does. And at this point, the vow to having to hold takes a whole new sinister level of kind of meaning to it. You're like, so he's your husband, therefore you couldn't kill him because you promised to have and to hold him. So to possess and imprison him. which is what he's been doing. You know, like when you look at the thing about the title, To Have and To Hold, it's like basically to have, to own, to
possess,
treat as an object, to whatever, and to imprison. Like that's been his perceived right with Agnes. And yeah, now it's...
I don't know about letting your young little boy go downstairs to give him his pot noodle. Down. That seems a bit much.
Like, you're just messing him up.
I mean, he's probably going to be a bit messed up from the way that his existence started.
The fact they send him down to deliver the pot noodle.
I guess what you'd currently be doing, and what I imagine happened with the Fritzl family, was that they got them out of that situation and that scenario, and they've been going through intense counselling and therapy, and they probably weren't sending them back down to the place where they were held captive for years and years on end to see it again. No. I imagine they probably would have been kept well away from that for a little while.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's just normal that people live in the... It's his turn now. We had our turn. Now it's his turn. Go and take him his pot noodle.
Don't forget to lock the door. Pamiętaj, zasłoń drzwi.
And I imagine even the sight of a pot noodle would be enough to trigger all sorts of just horrific trauma.
I mean, he seems fairly well adjusted considering.
He seems fine.
For now.
Yeah, he does seem
just wait
fine.
till he's 32 and, yeah, imprisoning people. Or a serial killer.
Yeah.
When it all catches up with him.
There's the sequel. Levi Roots.
He's making hot sauce on Dragon's Den.
When you found us, you should have let him die.
I couldn't do that, Agnes. He's my husband. To have and to hold. From this day forward. For better, for worse. For richer, for poorer. In sickness and in health. To love and to cherish. Till death us do part.
Yeah, cool. So that's To Have and To Hold. It's it's complicated.
It is.
It's a puzzle.
It is a puzzle, and it looked nothing like what was on the box.
No. That's a great way to end.
Thanks.
Yeah. So if you have any thoughts on this,
I'm sure you do.
Anything we've talked about, and if you want to tear us a new one, because we've let Adrian off the hook.
We haven't let Adrian off the hook.
I don't want to.
We've described him as a sick monster and a dreadful human being who we only felt sorry for at short bits of time when we hadn't had the full extent of his monstrousness revealed to us yet.
Yeah,
and he didn't know sign language, so
yeah, I countersign that. Yeah,
disclaimer.
But yeah, if you any thoughts, please do email us a quiet night inside 09@gmail.com, and yeah, get in touch via Twitter AQNIN9. We have news about the Halloween special, so
in that we know how to do it now.
We've kind of worked out we were going to do it in person, but because of COVID situations and life and that kind of stuff, we're going to do it virtually. So
that's not to say we're not actually going to do it.
We do. We're just going to do it virtually in your imagination. So on Halloween, we'll all gather on our own and imagine that there's an episode happening. No, we're going to do it, and we've worked out how. So it's going to be on YouTube live, and we will share a link on Twitter, and on we'll put one on the website as well.
And I think the League of Charities guys will also be sharing that because we're doing some work with them as part of the stream as well.
So yeah, keep an eye out for that, and yeah, looking forward to it. Kind of that it all comes together. Technology scares me, even though it's also a friend.
How profound.
Bit like you. All right, Steve. Have a good week.
You too. I'm sorry I scared you.
Oh no.